I had, I don't know whether you have these like moments where you go, "Oh, that's a great idea." Like, I watch too much YouTube. That's my guilty
Right.
pleasure. So, I just come. I woke up one morning and I thought, do you know what? I like know some really cool people. You're one of them, obviously, inside the industry and around the industry. And like, there's not really much for people to know, to like look at, to understand what
Yeah.
we do and what we get involved with, because we get involved with some cool stuff, don't we? Actually, when you think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, we do. Yes, I think, obviously the industry has changed dramatically since I started with it.
Mm.
And that was what,
Well,
23 years ago.
well, do you know what? I don't know whether I know that story fully. So, do you want to chat about it, or
Yeah, I'm fine. Absolutely fine. Yeah, yeah, no problem.
so? Where did you
Yeah, nothing.
start then, Ian?
Where did it start? I got made redundant from, I was a sales manager, area manager, and I got made redundant and sitting at home thinking, what do I do? And a pal of mine ran a corporate hospitality company on Millbrook Proving Ground that did driving days. Um, he rang me up in a panic one morning. I've got a driver gone sick. You can do auto test. You compete in auto test. Can you run an auto test for me, because I need you here in 2 hours. Oh, and by the way, there's 95 quid in it for you. So guess
Bogus.
what? I was there. I was with him for probably about 18 months. But of course, as you can imagine, the corporate and the events industry is so, what's the word I'm looking for?
Fluctuates.
Yeah, well, I mean, 1 January, I earned 90 quid in the whole of the month.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not can't live on that.
No.
And then I was sitting at home kicking my heels, and I thought, well, I saw an advert in the local paper for BSM
Yeah.
for a
What's it
seminar.
stand for, though, Ian? That's the
I
question.
can't remember now.
I thought it was bring some money.
Yeah, I think it was at that point, because that's all we seemed to get out of it. No, they were fine. They were fine. But I actually got to the point of going to the seminar, and the people that ran it, I thought, well, if these muppets can do it, because I've come from a business background, if these muppets can run these things, I certainly can.
Okay.
And they had broken noses and cauliflower ears and things, and that was just the women. Um, and at that point, I was actually working with Drive and Survive, doing off-road demonstrations for Ford.
Yeah.
And Andy Neal, Mark Edwards, we go back a long, long way.
Mm.
And they were running the thing. And Mark said to me, look, once you've qualified as an instructor, speak to us and come and work for us, which is
Complete.
exactly what I did.
So,
And that was 23 years ago.
so was that product launches with Ford then, where there's some quite interesting products, weren't they, when you were doing it?
Well, yeah, we did. We did Maverick off road. We were doing ST200s as they were then. That
Mm.
Mondeo. I've worked with Ford a lot of years. I've
Mm.
done 1, 2, 3 Focus launches, 3 Transit launches. Fiesta launch in Marbella, all that kind of. I spent a lot of time abroad.
So, which has been the most eventful, do you think?
Well, and the launches.
Yeah. If you could
Probably
pick just
Lexus.
one. The
Yeah,
what, sorry?
probably doing the Lexus IS200.
Okay.
Sorry, the IS250 as
Yeah.
it came out. That's going back about 10, 12 years now.
Yeah.
And I spent something like 11 weeks in Monaco,
It's a
which is
hard
quite
life,
cool.
Ian. It's a hard life.
It was there, I'll tell you. No,
And
it
you
was
were
good.
being paid for that.
Yeah, it was good. And that was the year that Drive and Survive went into administration.
Mm.
I'd lost quite a lot of money. That's
Mm.
about £6,000, which when you work for yourself is a lot of brass.
It is.
And that was still, even then, the best year in finance I've ever had, even
So,
after losing that money.
so that
But
was the last that was the last product launch you did.
no, I've done a few since then, but that was the big one.
Mm.
Um,
It's a good product.
that it was a smashing car. We had,
Mm.
I think we had the first 13 of them in the UK, or 14 of them in Europe.
Mm.
And we were coming out of Nice airport one night at about 10 o'clock, been doing some stuff, sitting under a flyover in the dark, and I was sitting there in the back, right-hand side, passenger side, and I noticed somebody sneaking up towards the door. As he opened the door, I put my shoulder to it. It hit him square in the face. His mate was trying to get in the boot, but it was pre-production, so the boot didn't work. And somebody was trying to get through and find bags in the passenger seat, because it's what they're doing at the airport. So 3 out of the 4 of us decamped with a good dose of Anglo-Saxon and told them to go away. We got back in the car and said to my mate Miles, right, let's go. Well, I'm waiting for the traffic lights to go green. Just make the thing go.
I can't imagine it's a particularly slow car, to be honest.
It was fun. Toyota thought we were wonderful. We saved the day for them. But no, it's memorable. And that's what it's about.
Maybe that's an interesting line of thought then, because you've done some quite interesting product launches recently. I know you did the Leaf, and you did the 62 kilowatt hour Leaf as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we had, that was at Millbrook, and we were trying to prove to the salespeople that the vehicle would do what they said it would. And we were running around Millbrook in January with everything on, 4 up, and still getting 165 miles out of a tank.
Yeah. Was that the 62?
No, that was the 40.
Yeah.
I haven't played the 62 recently, but it's quick.
Yeah, and it handles
but
reasonably
well. Very long.
That's
the problem. Yeah, it's not quick for very long.
No. Do you know the charge speeds on it? Are they quite quick? Because I think that they struggle when they get a bit hot, don't they? The Leafs.
Yeah, I mean they're talking about something about 80% charge in 40 minutes. I think it is, which is great if you can find a charging point that actually works.
Yeah.
For some of the mileage, the main mileage I do is absolutely fine. But for me to go up and down to the lakes, it's going to put an hour and a half on my journey. Yeah. And I'm not prepared to do that.
No. But I suppose for the average Joe, for most people, the sort of products that are coming out now, albeit they're not particularly cheap, but they're amazing ranges, really, especially some of the new stuff.
Yeah. Well, a pal of mine around the corner was going to get a Tesla.
Yeah.
And he was due to pick that up in, I think it was 1st of March. And it didn't arrive, or it messed about with PDI or something. So he told them, you can keep hold of it. And then 10 days later, this lockdown happened. And he's very lucky he didn't sign on the line, because he'd have been in for like £400 a month for renting a car that he hasn't got a job for. Yeah. So, it's the way life is, isn't it?
Yeah.
We all have our crosses to bear.
Have you done much with Tesla then? Because, again, they're incredible products.
No, I haven't. I've done very little, to be fair.
I know I've driven the Model S, is the only one I've driven. And I know you and I have both done stuff on track, and we both know that feeling of being pushed back in the seat, which obviously feels worse when you're in the passenger seat, I think. But like you get that same feeling that you get in like really high performance vehicles. That pushback, is incredible.
And that's the thing. I mean, most of my stuff tends to be the other end of the market, which is the luxury end of the market. Our friends down at Chichester with Rolls-Royce, and I do get some very, very nice cars to play in down there.
Yeah, well, that's a completely different ball game, isn't it? And I think actually Rolls-Royce are looking, and a lot of the premium products are looking at EVs, aren't they?
Rolls have got an EV on the book. I mean, how you improve on perfection, I've no idea.
Well, the silly thing is, isn't it? Everyone moans that EVs are quiet, but isn't that what Rolls-Royce have been doing for donkey's years?
Absolutely. There's more time noise in a Rolls-Royce than anything else.
Yeah, well, that's terrible.
It really is. But when you pay £500,000 for a car, you expect the best, and they really are the best. And I know I'm biased, but they really are the best cars.
That might lend nicely into one of my questions, which is about sort of your dream garage. So money no object, and maybe not even any space in terms of like you can have as much space as you like. What cars would you have? What would your
I would probably have an Aston Martin, because I live in Newport Pagnell where they used to make them. I'm actually due for a trip around the work service. I won it in a raffle. And I thought it was great because it's come to actually somebody who would appreciate it. So I'm due to get a trip around work service. It was due to happen before lockdown. It didn't, so we postponed it.
I'd maybe warn them before you go about the level of questioning they're going to be.
Oh, don't worry about it. I mean, Paul Spire, I know Paul anyway, with the MD. So he knows what I do. But the whole thing is, I would have a sporty one, I'd have the Aston. Not sure which one it was. I think I would probably go for a 2005 Vanquish S.
Oh, very nice. That's the V12, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the James Bond one. That's probably, in my view, that is the sexiest motor car that has ever been built.
Have you driven many of the Astons then?
I've done the 9s, the 11s, and I've done one of the older ones, the 5, which, yeah, all right.
It's old school, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like driving an E-Type. On the experience days, we had an E-Type on there, and to be fair, it wasn't an awful lot slower than the modern stuff.
Yeah. Scary.
You come out of a corner with it and put your foot down, and it's you're struggling to catch it up with the modern stuff.
Do you think we've actually made much progress then in the automotive industry? Because I mean, we still got the combustion engine, and we're moving to EV, and obviously there has been progression. Tires have got wider, haven't they?
Yeah, everything got safer. That's the other thing. I wouldn't want a big shunt in one of the older cars.
No, the idea is not to have one, isn't it, though, Ian?
Oh, I know, but you know what I mean. It does happen, unfortunately.
It does. So you'd have an Aston. That's one, but there's loads of space left in the garage. So
I think the other one I would have to have would be a Rolls. It's got to be.
And what would you specify?
What would I specify? I would probably go for a Wraith black badge.
The fast one.
In salamander blue, with the stainless steel bonnet. It's just a phenomenal car.
Yeah.
630 horsepower, 0 to 60, 4.4 seconds, and it weighs 2.4 tons. It's just an amazing piece of car.
But for me, it's all about the waft. It's all about the, that glide. You still accelerating, but you can't really feel it a great deal.
Well, I was saying to somebody the other day about them. A lot of cars now you have paddle gear shifts and whatever else. That has D, N, R, and P, and that's it. You put it in D and it goes.
What else do you want?
What it doesn't tell you, of course, is that it's a satellite-headed gearbox.
Yeah.
It looks along the road, works out what's coming up, selects the gear that you need. So when you put your foot down, it's actually already there. It's very, very rare that you can catch it out and put it to kick down.
And would there be anything else? Because it's sort of taking a slightly different line here, but I assume there'd be something rally in there, would there?
Yeah, it could be. And I don't know, Mark II Escort, something like that.
A proper job.
Oh yeah. Can't mess about with these front-wheel drive things.
No. Do you think that's been a good move though for the industry? Because it's quite interesting. Again, with EV, we're actually moving more towards a lot of them being rear-wheel drive.
I think within motorsport, rear drive is going to be always the way to go. I know a lot of the touring cars are front drive, but certainly in my sport, which is rallying, it's the back end's got to move. It's the fun element of it.
Of course
I started out as a rally navigator on doing road rallies, and that was an Escort Mexico and an X-Works Avenger, and this X-Works Avenger would do 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. It was a bit quick.
And what year was that, Ian?
Oh, about 1827. We didn't quite have the red flag.
So, because I don't know that story, so you started as a navigator. Was that just because you fancied doing it, or what was the story there?
No, all my mates and I was the only one who didn't get sick.
Right. Okay. Is that because you were used to
that's
it?
How it happened. Hey?
Is that because you were used to it, or?
No, I just didn't get sick.
Okay.
I was the only one who could put my head in the map and be safe all night.
Very good.
So
how did it progress from there? So you did lots of talking as a navigator, and then.
Well, I actually got to the end of one selective one night, and my driver put it out the door and threw up. Oh. And I said to him, "Hey, it's supposed to be me that does that." No, it went from there. I've always been involved in motorsport in various ways. I've never had the money to do it properly, but other people did that, so I used to sit with other people. It was cheaper.
Yeah.
I actually had a time when I was in the air training corps that I was a gliding instructor. Near to you, actually, at Burton Wood. So I used to fly gliders for a hobby as well. And that's quite a daunting thing when you're 3,000 feet up and the first time out, thinking, I better put this back on the ground.
Somehow.
Without crashing.
I thought that was the same as rallying. You have to put it back on the ground without crashing.
Well, you do, yeah. Just keep off the trees. No, it was just a progression. You know, I went into sales at 18. Had a company car when I was 18, so it was a good bird puller. And it just went from there. And here I am all these years later. Hey?
What did you sell, Ian?
Everything. I've sold advertising space in telephone directories.
What's one of them, sorry?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I worked for an ad agency as a buyer for 9 years, buying poster space in London. Yeah, you know, I've done quite a few things over the years. I did 11 years working for a sign company, selling vinyl graphics and sign, you know, shop fascias and petrol canopies, all that sort of thing. In fact, we did the new BP one, the latest BP, the green, with the sunflower in it. We were responsible. We did all of that. So it was quite a nice thing to be involved with.
Because a really big thing now in automotive is wrapping, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that sort of similar thing, or? Yeah,
it's vinyl. It's quite a. I've got a pal around the corner who has a local sign company. He does some of it. We chat about it once in a while, you know. But yeah, he said once you get how far it'll stretch, it's easy.
Yeah.
It's knowing how far it stretches.
It's quite a talent to get that right.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a time fitting graphics, and when you're trying to put a 100mm stripe on a 40-foot trailer, that's
it's when you get it wrong, though, isn't it?
That's a bit of a challenge. You stand by and say, "Oh God, that was wrong." Got a kink in it, you know?
That's when you go. You got to go home. Got to go home. So
yeah,
I was interested in, you know, how did you find the ADI process? Sounds like you did that with BSM. How did you find the driving instructor training side of things?
I did it because I wanted to do it, but I did it at my pace. It took me 2 years.
Yeah.
So I didn't sign up for a complete course that says, you know, in 6 months you will be doing, and give me £5,000. I did it to suit my pocket at my pace. I said it took me just under 2 years to do.
And did you do stuff with provisional license holders?
No. I came straight into fleet. I've done the odd one, you know, the kids and friends of the family and that sort of thing. But no, I've never wanted to do it.
No.
I often say to people, you know, when I'm doing training sessions, I can cope with you, but I've got to be 17-year-old. I've got a problem with you, like apprentices.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I took an apprentice out today, and it's quite scary actually sometimes how much you have to go over the basics. So yeah, this guy had been passed for 12 months, and I think it's quite scary, you know, when you're talking about clutch control and how to use the brake with someone that's been driving for 12 months.
Yeah. I did have an apprentice who was telling me how to do it.
Well, obviously, and that lasted a while, didn't it?
He'd been driving for just over 3 months, and I'm saying to him, try doing this because, if I do that, my mates will laugh at me. Okay, your mates will laugh at you when you wrap your car around the tree. But, you know, well, my mates will laugh. Okay, fine. Okay, I can live with that. And in the end, I said to him, look, mate, will you take a bit of advice here, pal? I said, I have been sitting at traffic lights longer than you've been driving. So if I ask you to do something, there is a reason for it.
Cool. So I have some more questions then.
Yeah, go on.
So what about your car history then? Because I don't know that.
Car history, very mundane. I learned to drive in my mother's A35 on the drive before I had a license. Reversing up the drive and back in, driving into the garage and out the drive and back into the garage.
Did you hit anything?
No, I wouldn't have dared. No, and you know, I passed my test first attempt at 17, and not long after that, I ended up with a company car. I used to work for Spillers, the flower people,
Hmm.
and I sold £70 bags of flour to bakers in East Lancashire. And my first car was a Mark II Cortina
Nice.
in like a Wedgwood blue, TAT 668H. That shows you how long ago it was.
It's funny
Isn't
how
that
you
funny?
remember these things.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I had a huge accident in Glasgow about 1986, I think it was. I'd gone to pick up another car, and when I got there, the month-old Cavalier I was due to get wasn't there, and they palmed me off with a battered old two-year-old Sierra, which was complete shed. And it was in the days when you had to set the seatbelt for yourself. It didn't retract. Now, I knew I was getting near the motorway, so I thought, well, okay, I'll stop in this lay-by and make sure it fits properly.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have had the huge accident some miles down the road.
So what happened?
I was outside lane of a dual carriageway, 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Road surface was damp because it had been raining. And on the A8 of Baillieston coming out of Glasgow. And little Triumph Herald came to the junction on the left-hand side. She stopped. And then she pulled out in front of me.
Oh.
Yes.
How were the brakes?
They were fine. But I used her to stop more than anything else. And I can remember sitting there thinking, if I don't move across, if I hit her on the door, I'll kill her.
Yeah.
And I managed to hit her. I moved across enough so I could hit on the door pillar and the front wheel. And I remember looking, and the bonnet of my car folded up, and I could see a grey Vauxhall Carlton spinning down the road. And when the police came, they said to this bloke, "What happened?" He said, "I don't really know." He said, "But I wish I had fucking brakes like he's got."
I assume that had no ABS because the early Sierras didn't have ABS.
No, there was nothing. No. ABS was your right foot.
Absolutely.
No. But yeah, that was the big one. I've had a succession of company cars, mainly Fords. I did have a Hillman Avenger, which I blew the engine up on the East Lancs Road. But
Go on, what was the story there then?
Well, I was living in Rochdale, and I was in digs in Rochdale and living in Formby, which is where my folks are. Coming down the East Lancs Road, somewhere about Lee, going home, 92 mile an hour on the speedo. And it threw a rod.
Oh dear. I'm not surprised though, Ian, you were really ringing it out by the sounds of it.
Yeah, 12.50 a menu, yeah, it's got to be done. Wasn't mine, mate, company car, mate.
How many times do we hear that?
Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't mind, I'll get another one tomorrow.
Well, you did.
That's where I get it from, mate.
That's where you did.
That's where I get it from, I've been there, done that. Yeah. I said to people, whatever you do, I've done it before.
Do you think that helps you then because you've been there? Because obviously we trying to convince someone probably there's a different way of doing something and maybe to think about it differently. And I suppose if you've been there, you've got the
I tend not to. I try not to be a driving instructor, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
But look, I've done this before, pal. I know what this is about, and I know what goes wrong if you don't do it. So that's how I sort of couch what I do.
Yeah.
Somebody said to me a few months ago, "What's your take on steering?" What do you mean? What's my take on steering? 1 hand or 2 hands? I said, perfectly honestly, I'm quite happy with 1 hand as long as you've got control.
Yeah.
2 hands is how you pass your driving test.
There's what we said with the quality of steering. Like for most, I mean, again, like one of the chaps I've been out with this week, it doesn't matter how many hands he had on the steering wheel. He could have had 4 hands on the steering wheel. It still wouldn't be smooth. And it still wouldn't be as controlled as we would want it to be.
Yeah.
So when did you first get into a skid car then?
I can tell you exactly where it was. I can't tell when it was. It was in the Ford Scorpio that Drive and Survive had at the Ford factory in Bridgend. And if you ask Marky Cowell about it, because you had to take the brake pads out the back, and I couldn't use the brake, and we put an orange arrow, like rally things. We put an orange arrow over the handbrake, so nobody was tempted to lift it up.
That's them with the daisy, and that's how you do it properly.
That's how you learn. You learn to drive a skid car with no back brakes. I was doing demos, so it wasn't a problem. But yeah, I mean, my first session with Mark Robin, we rocked up at the factory to do a weekend of whatever it was for Ford. Mark Robbins was the event manager. Right, you're in a skid car. Oh shit, I've never been in a skid car. Right, get in there now.
Learn it now.
It starts in 10 minutes. You got 10 minutes to learn it. It was one of those.
Was it hydraulics then?
Yeah, it was on the frame. Yeah, but it's when they had the old Ford Scorpio, which was a big old car, but yeah, it did the job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I just wondered, going back to the whole ADI thing. So how would you, what do you think to standards checks and the way that we do stuff now with, so like when you go for your standards check, how do you find it? Because for me personally, I don't feel the DVSA really understand fleet. They
No,
understand.
I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you. I mean, I now have a standard format when I do a standards check. I always talk about space.
Yeah.
And we're in traffic. Can you see that driver's face in that mirror? And that kind of thing. What's behind you? Where is it? Have you got your brakes on yet? And it becomes very client-centered. Have you got your brakes on yet?
Yeah.
Can you see his face in that mirror?
Mm.
And last time I did it, he said, I still see in 4 years where it'll be a lot longer than that, mate. Oh, good. It's your 6, or your A or whatever. I'm an A, so it's fine. He said, I'm retiring anyway. So, but he said, I do wish more people would talk about space.
Yeah.
He said, I sit with people and they talk about anything and everything, but nobody mentions space.
Well, as you know, it's a bit of a passion of mine. I don't know whether you read my book, but like a whole chapter's basically about leaving space and why.
Yeah.
And from my personal view, I'm not sure that many of the driving books really do it justice. Like, we talk about escape routes, don't we? We talk about not just being able to stop, but being able to stop without being rear end shunted. Having space to see, not just being able to stop. So it seems a bit odd to me.
I don't know, when I was driving Survive, I was very lucky. I got taken on quite easily. Mark used to say, we get 4 applications a week from trainers. He said, we don't take them on because they haven't got the skill set and they haven't got the personality.
No, you've got to sell it, haven't you? I suppose that was the lucky thing about what you did before. You were selling.
Yeah, I'm very happy talking to people and dealing with people. You probably know that. Talking to people, dealing with people, a bit like you. But it just has to be done because it's almost an act, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
I'm actually quite quiet and shy most of the time.
Of course you are, Ian. Of course.
No, I am. But I can stand in front of a room of people and do a presentation. Yeah. Because it's my subject.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
So I know you said you saw an advert for it, but there must have been a drive to become an ADI. What was that driver? What was the?
Well, I think is that, as with a lot of people who become ADIs, I can drive, I can do that, and I need a job.
That's always a good thing, isn't it, to have?
My guy was Neville Stanford. In Lawns, absolutely spot on, absolutely bloody amazing training that guy was.
I assume he's not with us any longer.
I think he gave up. He became a vet or something. He was something to do with horses anyway. So yeah.
Actually, do.
Yeah.
Where do you think the industry's going then? Because obviously these guys, most instructors have been absolutely locked down considerably during the lockdown process. But where are we heading? What's happening?
I think we're on a downward slope. I'm fairly sure of that. The number of kids that are learning to drive is dropping. I don't know whether the number of ADIs is actually dropping or not, but I suspect if we do go into a recession, the number will start to go back up again.
Are you doing less now then, Ian? Are you doing?
I'm trying to do 3 days a week.
Yeah.
But
what are the funniest stories or moments then? Doing fleet stuff or
well, okay, my piece de resistance. I went down to parked in their car park, in the visitors' car park, which was probably holds 100 cars. It was completely empty apart from my car. So I walked into reception and said, "Hello, I've come to some driver training." And she said, "Where have you parked?" "In the visitor car park." "You can't park there." "Why not? I'm a visitor." "Have you got a space booked?" "No idea, but I'm a visitor." "You'll have to move it because you haven't got a space booked." So I went and found somewhere around the corner to park my car, much miffed. And I walked back in behind Mr. And I actually thought that he had a caliper on his leg. He had such a very, very heavy limp. Fair enough. And you walked in behind him, and the receptionist said, "Oh, here's your man, he's behind you." And this guy turned around, and I don't know if you've ever seen a person with a turn in their eye, you know, like a wonky eye.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, this guy had two. Well, one went one way, one went the other way. I kid you not. And I'm now looking around thinking, there's a camera here. Beadle's going to be coming out in a minute. So went out to his car, got sorted out, did a presentation, went out to his car, which was a month old. And I said to him, "How many miles a year do you do?" And he said, "Oh, about 18,000. It's a month old." Looked at the speedo, he had 320 miles on it. "Right, well, I thought you did a lot of miles." "Oh, I've just got it back from the body shop."
A month old.
Hey,
It's a
a
month
month
old.
old. Month old
Okay.
Monday. What happened? I got hit by a bus. Did you know? Yeah, it was a double-decker bus, and I didn't see it.
To be fair, it's quite hard to see a double-decker bus.
Yeah, it's down there, you know. So I said, "Okay, fair enough," you know. So in my normal tactful way, I said to him a bit later on, I said, "Do you find that you need to wear glasses?" And I honestly thought, I've got Benny Hill in the car here. "No, cannot wear glasses." "Why cannot you wear glasses?" And all seriously, he said, "With my left eye, I read. With my right eye, I look up there." So, okay, fine. Okay, let's go. Off we go. And we're going through Southampton, down by the docks. We came to a roundabout, and he's looking right. And I'm looking forward, and I'm watching the back of this Mercedes get quite big quite quickly. And I thought, he'll do something in a minute. He's got to. And he didn't. And in the end, I actually used the handbrake on him. And he flipped. I'd seen it. No, you hadn't seen it from where I was sat, mate. "Oh, yeah, I was watching it." And no, you weren't watching it. Anyway, we had an argument about it. I said, "We'll tell you what we'll do. We'll swap seats, and I will take us back."
Yeah.
Because I'm quite entitled to do that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish it. We're going back.
Yeah.
So we got back, and I was doing his mate in the afternoon. He was actually a computer engineer, worked for an outside company. So I was doing his mate in the afternoon, and his mate came down. He was laughing. He said, "How did that go this morning?" I said, Don't even go there." He said, "I won't get in the car with him."
You should have told me that earlier on, mate.
It was one of those days, but that really does, you know, you don't get that with learners, mate.
No.
Full character building. But no, seriously, yeah, he's probably the worst.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it, to see the spectrum of drivers that you get, because I know that like you said, you could have someone that's got every single license and they're really switched on, they do loads of miles and they're reading the road like we would. But then you also have the other end of the spectrum where I haven't driven for the last, you know, however many years. Just one lady that stands out for me is there was a lady in Manchester who worked for an engineering company, and she came from let's just call it an Italian island that doesn't have motorways. And I said, you know, when was the last time you drove? Well, it was on an Italian island, right? Okay, which obviously the wrong side of the road and all that.
Yeah.
How much driving have you done in the last, you know, however long? When's the last time you drove? Oh, it was 12 years ago. Right. Okay. And where was that? Oh, that was on this little Italian island. Have you ever driven in the UK? No. Okay. So, and a bit like your man, like it's like a provisional license holder lesson though. It was like starting from scratch.
Yeah, I've done a few of those over the years. You know, you learn how to deal with it. You know, I have a standard thing with them now. You know, have you driven in the UK before? Yes or no. Have you driven right-hand drive? Yes or no. And what I actually get them to do now, and I don't know whether you do, and whether it'd be useful, a tip for anybody else, but I get them to drive along the road and put the white line through the bottom right-hand corner of the windscreen or the headlight.
Yeah.
And it just gives them a good position.
A reference, absolutely.
And they sometimes need that. I mean, on the Lexus launch, we did that because we had the English there for about the first 3 weeks, and they would insist on driving on the pavement. And we had so many damaged wheels that I said to Neil Brogdon, look, mate, when you're doing the briefing, just put this into it. Yeah. Oh, that'll never work. I said, well, trust me, you know, I'm your driver training man for PDA as it was then, or AMCI as it is now. I said, I'm your driver training man. I reckon that we can cut the damage if you put that in. Well, I'll give it a go. And almost overnight, we cut it by 60%.
Yeah.
Well, I never thought that would work. I said, well, there you go, mate. Trust me, because that's what I do. But even he was saying, you know, even the staff, if you're not too sure about driving on the continent, speak to Ian. He'll take you out, you know. Because one year I did 30,000 Ks in the south of France. I did more in the south of France than I did here.
And that was doing the launch.
Yeah. I've done a lot of training abroad as well. You know, west coast of France, Milan, you know, Madrid. Been to Madrid 4 times. So training in Madrid is it's interesting.
I've driven in Madrid, and it is quite interesting. Because of course the southern Mediterranean have a completely different style of driving, don't they? Which is drive as close as you can, as fast as you can, and a red light means go.
Yeah, I was doing some eco for Ford over there, and we were at Inter, just outside the airfield, just outside Madrid, and I ended up Neil Brogdon had to do a car to somebody because something happened. And because I knew Neil well from Drive and Survive, you know, AMCI, I became his driver. And we're going through Madrid, and he said, I have to tell you, mate, he said, I'm going to hand it to you. You drive like a local. I said, I'll take that as a compliment.
You have to sort of adapt your driving, don't you? I suppose it's a bit like central London, isn't it? You have to be assertive, I think the word is.
Yeah. Try £500,000 on a Rolls Royce down Mayfair, buddy. That's challenging, you know.
And how are the weight restrictions?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I was taking the Queen's transport manager back to Buckingham Palace one night. It was pouring down with rain, dark. I don't know, it would be 6, 7 o'clock at night. Going over Chelsea Bridge, which, as far as I knew, didn't have a width restriction on it. It hadn't the time before, because I went through that in a transit minibus. But no, I got there. I'm thinking, this guy's in the back. He runs the Royal Fleet. He runs all the chauffeurs. Because we were talking about driving and chauffeurs and training, and you know they'll go to Devon and Cornwall for 3 weeks on their training courses. And I got there and I thought, shit, it's a 6'6" restriction, and this ghost is 6'3" and a half wide. But they had like metal posts, which is sort of about 3 foot high. And I thought, oh no. And I said to him, Alex, I'm very sorry, mate, but I'm bailing out of this. I'm not going through there. And I actually did a 3-point turn in the middle of Chelsea Bridge Road in a roller and went the other way. He said, I'm so glad you did that. He said, I wish my blokes would do that. My blokes would keep battering through.
Well, I wondered whether you might do it, whether you'd take the close your eyes and just see how it went.
I have done it before.
Yeah, they're very, very narrow, and in some vehicles particularly, they're hard work.
Terminal 4 at Heathrow is the worst one. And you can't put a Phantom into Terminal 1 either. You can't get out of the car. No, won't go in. Won't go around the bends.
What, you mean it will go into the car park but won't come out?
Well, on the turns that you've got in there, you don't want to be in it.
Yeah, and a lot of the London car parks are horrendous anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
What about a road trip then? So if you were going to take a road trip, I mean, I don't know, have you done many road trips?
Not really. No, we go to France a couple of times a year to see some friends, but it's not a road trip as such. It's off the ferry and 5 hours down to, towards Bordeaux. That's about it, really. I've done back in 1999, I did do support for the very first Gumball rally. And my pal at Millbrook, Elton, who's now the chief executive of New Zealand Motorsport, we were in a 3.5-ton van going around Europe, and our schedule had been set by somebody in a car at 90 miles an hour. Not in a van that would do 62 mile an hour limited. So we spent the first night and the third night out of bed just driving. And our first stint from Millbrook to stopping in Monaco was 37 hours.
Oh my goodness! What you did that kept switching?
Yeah.
All the way.
Grab an hour, back in the seat. Grab an hour, back in the seat. Grab an hour, back in the seat.
That's hard work.
Yeah, it was. And my claim to fame, we got into Monaco because he's a racing driver. So, that's fine. But all the towns, all the cities you can do, because we went to Chartres first. So we had to go across Paris to get to Chartres. So I had to do that. So I've seen the Palace of Versailles. I've never been in it, but I just went past it. We rocked up at this place at 10 o'clock at night and said, how long will it take us to get to Monaco? And he said, 10 hours, something like that. When are you going? We said, now. You're mad. Yeah, what? We've got to go. It was. Yeah, we got there for lunchtime the next day. But, I got outside. We were going to the Café de Paris at Casino Square. And I've got this van that said, Luton-bodied, BRS truck rentals all over the side of it. I was tired. I was fed up. I'd had enough. And I said to a policeman, how do I get to the Café de Paris? And he said, down there. So, on the Grand Prix circuit, when you come from the start line up the hill, yes. Well, that was one way. So I turned left and I went the wrong way down towards it. And then turned left in front of the Café de Paris. And this little man in his green suit came out and said, no, Hill Park. Sorry, mate, taco time, Taco can't go. And this is going nowhere. We weren't on taco at all. But it was going nowhere till you knew exactly where it was going to go. Absolutely. The policeman didn't speak English, I didn't speak French. And down there. Okay, thank you very much.
So if you were planning a dream road trip, though, what would be on the list, and where would you go, and what would it be in?
I don't know. I've seen some things. Some of the boys have been out to Romania, and some of the routes out there, some of the mountain routes look absolutely spectacular. I've done some of the Alps and Stelvio and that sort of thing. That's okay, but not really what I want to do. I didn't have a good enough car to do that.
What would be the car then? So if you were going to go out to Romania,
I'd have me Aston for that.
Of course. Do they come in? Are they manual, or I don't think they are they?
No, a paddle box. So you stick in there and off you go. But you put them, as you probably well know, mate. Right hand side's up and left hand side's down.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Why is it they think that because it's a supercar, it can go round bends just as quick as it can go down the straight? What is that all about?
I think that's the Clarkson factor.
Oh, right, okay.
I was a DB9 on Upper Hayford, and this guy, when you walk to the car and you think, this guy's trouble.
Yeah.
I come with my mate, and I bought this experience because there was a space on the session. Okay. And I said, right, I want you to know, nice and gently, drive across there to the blue cones, and then we'll get onto the circuit. And he lit it up from the pit lane. Whoa, hold on, pal. Gently, don't we get here? I paid for this. I said, yes, I know you have. Like 49 quid or whatever he paid,
Yeah.
And every corner, he was chucking it in and hitting the gas. I want this car to slide. And that's all I got. I want this car, it won't slide. I've paid for this, I want this car to slide. As I've told you, it will not slide. I promise you. One, I've got my finger down the side of the button on the kill switch.
They are quite helpful sometimes, Ian.
Trouble is, when you're using the kill switch, normally it's far too late. Yeah. I've had that argument with Paul Davis a few times. If I've got to use the kill switch, it's gone wrong.
Absolutely.
But in the end, I pulled him over and I said to him, right, let's get one thing straight. I appreciate you paid for this. However, I'll give you 5 reasons why this car will not slide. 1, this is not Top Gear. 2, your name is not Clarkson. 3, I haven't switched the system off. 4, I'm not going to switch the system off. And 5, if you want to argue about it, let's go back in and you can sort it out with the boss. Also, I'll give you number 6 as well. You are not going to abuse my car. And he just looked at me. I said, yes, this is my car. I rent them into these days, and you are not going to abuse it. Oh. You want to go mad? I suggest you go to Silverstone. It's an experience of driving the car, you know. And you think, oh.
I think I think them experience days. I've done probably too many of them. I don't think you gain a great deal from it because, I mean, for me, if I was going to jump in some of them vehicles, I wouldn't just want to do 4 laps or 10 laps. No. I'd want to spend half a day, a minimum, with that vehicle to start to get to know it.
Yeah, I mean, they were quite surprised at us. Well, how often do you drive these from the workshop to here and back again at night?
And round the track.
Well, don't you play with them? No, we don't. We don't play them. No. We bring them to the workshop, which is on the other side of the airfield, to here. And when we finish at night, we put them back again. That's it. Well, I thought you'd play with them. No, we don't play with them. That's, you know. I've driven quite a lot of nice cars over the years, but I'm not that fussed, to be honest.
Well, it's something that I've learnt actually, and there are some cars that give me a little bit of a flutter, but not very many. You start to realise that all cars have got 4, or all vehicles have got 4 wheels, and really they all do the same thing, just some are slightly nicer than others.
Yeah. We had a Mitsubishi Evo on there, which was tweaked, and that 460 brake under it. That was nice, especially when it was wet on both tyres. That was great fun.
I tell you what, because I've done lots of work with Subarus and Evos. It's an interesting question, which one you prefer?
I think I prefer the Evo. It understeers like a dog, but when you know it's going to do that, it's not doing that. I think basically just the dynamics of it rather than the Subaru. We had both on there, but I never really got on with Subarus. There's something that's a bit basic about them, I think.
Well, what was interesting for me was the boost on the turbo. I remember we were putting some cones out, and we finished the last section, and it was in 4th gear, this Evo, and we were doing about 30. So I just floored it, and it just didn't do anything, It must have been a good 5 seconds, and then the next thing you know, whoomph, off it goes. Massive turbo lag, but my goodness, if it kept on boosting, it's incredible.
Everything absolutely. No, it's just you know, as I say, I've played with them over too many years. I mean, I've played with Subarus on rally stages as an instructor and the event manager, so I used to do the hot rides, and that was quite fun. But you know, as I say, I think the thing is with those days, as instructors, you get complacent because it's the same as it was last week and the week before and the week before, and you get people going in the car and they're actually shaking.
Yeah,
you see them shaking. You think, you're going to drive a bloody Ferrari. What's up with you? And I think we were taking a lot of it for granted.
Yeah.
And I got to the point of I haven't done it now for about 3 years, but I wasn't glad to miss it because I got to the point of thinking, do you know, I'm not actually giving these people anything.
No.
It's all take the money, take the money, take the money, but I'm not giving them the experience that they expect because I wasn't allowed to.
You know, I think there's a lot to be said for that. Like I said, if I was going to do stuff in high performance and I wanted to play with it, and at least want half a day. And again, if you've got a decent instructor, you'd learn a good amount from that half day, you know. It's good. I mean, because the other thing that I know I miss, and I don't know whether you miss, is the mobility events. Because and
very much so.
But if for nothing else, it was for the people, like those people that. For some people would say, oh, they could never drive. Well, these guys can drive. Yeah.
And you look at people who are severely disabled and you think, oh God, have I got in a car with you? And you get out and think, wow, that was fantastic.
Well, it's I found as well with some, it was the quality of their driving because, and the fact that they could control the vehicle so well, was just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Apart from
And
the lady who put me in the pit wall at Donington, but never mind.
well, yeah, that does
Not about
happen.
that yet.
Does happen sometimes. It's always amusing, isn't it, when there's a left foot accelerator vehicle about, and someone who's never driven one gets in it, and then forgets that it's an auto, and B that the left pedal is the accelerator.
Well, it's like people do it with autos anyway when they're not used to them. They hit the clutch.
Yeah, well, you stop rather quickly, don't you?
Don't you just a little bit, yeah. But no, yeah, it's what it is, you know. No, I've had a lot of fun over the years in cars, and you know, but you know, if you go back to the experience days, people say to me, you know, would you do an experience day? No, I wouldn't. I would spend my money doing a rally day.
Hmm.
Far more involving. You get more seat time, and it's just, to me, it's just more fun.
Because you still go and watch the rally, don't you?
Yeah. Mike's still got his Peugeot, so you know,
Mm.
we do keep talking about going out and doing an event at some point. We haven't done it yet, but we probably will. But me in the hot seat, you know, me sitting there left, right, yeah, flat over crest and all that sort of bollocks, you know. Yeah, no, we do go out and watch. He still competes. He does not navigation stuff now. So it's, you know, people have got full blown rally cars, and he rocks up in his Seat Ibiza diesel with Isabella's seat in the back, you know, and the wins.
F you. Great fun.
It is a bit that way, you know.
Yeah. That is great
No,
fun.
yeah, no, we're still involved, but not in any big way. I mean, I'm more involved now with. Do you know Noel Wilson?
No.
No, Noel was an instructor. He used to do a lot of off-road stuff. He used to be an instructor at Rockingham, and he was on his way to Rockingham one morning about 6 years ago, and was involved in a very tiny collision, and it triggered MS for him.
Jesus.
And now he can't walk.
Mm.
But what he's been doing over the last couple of years, he's been raising money for the MS Society by setting lap times around race circuits. And I often help him out with it. He lives 10 minutes from me. We've been mates for 30 years. So I often try and help him out with that. And on the 1st of August, we were supposed to be doing a 24-hour in Milton Keynes around Willard Lake. Not as a race, but with 3 drivers, three lads, all suffering from MS, to just keep going for 24 hours, because his mobility scooter, which has got full race seat on it and a harness, which I think came from Paul Rowley.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, but it's been wrapped. There's a lad called Matt Howson who won LMP2, and him and Noel, the big mates. So the buggy has been wrapped like Matt's car. So we wanted to do a 24-hour around Willen, and it's all raising money. I mean, at the moment he's on about something like £46,000 he's made, you know, for MS. So it's brilliant. It really is. So I'm
still fundraising for that.
They're trying to, but of course everything's locked down now.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be doing it on the 1st and 2nd of August, but it's been put back to next year now. But yeah, I don't know whether he'll be able to do it next year. I've watched him go downhill over the years, you know, and he now can't walk. So I'm not sure. Don't know. So I'm Stevie Baldock, and we're service crew. So you know, we're experts at changing the batteries on a mobility scooter in like 30 seconds.
Do you have greasy hands sometimes?
I don't mind getting dirty. I'm not the best mechanic in the world, but I'm all right.
Yeah. You reminded me of Rockingham there. Have you been on the kick plate at Rockingham?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was brutal until apparently Silverstone is a lot worse.
I haven't been on Silverstones, I don't know, but yeah, I was going to do some work up there with Dave Joyce a few years ago for the Rockingham, whatever they call it, you know, with him and oh bloody hell. Anyway, Lewis, Steve Lewis, because they were running the driver training side of things up there, and it didn't get there in the end, but I was going to do a bit of work for them, you know, but yeah, it never actually happened in the end. But yeah,
it's a shame really that's gone downhill, because they're basically not. I don't think it's even operating anymore, is it, Rockingham?
No, it's a car auction site now.
It's really sad.
I thought
I
it was,
love Rockingham. I think it's a really interesting track, especially when you use the middle section, and then you've got there's an off-road course, isn't there? And
yeah.
there's a kick plate, there's low friction surface, there's it's it's
Well,
good
there's all
fun.
sorts in there. It was a good place, but it just it was just in the wrong. It was in the wrong place, really.
Mm, yeah.
But yeah, it was all right. But yeah, I always thought it was soulless.
Mm. I know what you mean. But my abiding memory there is I did some training for a friend of mine, and we we were training au pairs that work in the Alps, and
Yeah.
they drive on French minibuses down to the Alps, and obviously pick up people in
Oh
the
yeah,
airport
yeah,
or whatever. So they rock up in these four-wheel drive minibuses, and some of these are like 18-year-old girls, and they get into this Volkswagen Transporter minibus and drive over this kick plate with winter tyres on, and we just spend the whole day going sideways with these au pairs, which sounds great to me.
yeah. I used to do one in Oxford. They
Mm,
did walking holidays, and they had Mercedes Sprinters, which were like half a minibus and half a van.
yeah.
And these people would come from all over Europe and Russia and all sorts of things.
Mm,
Never driven in the UK before, and they're based in the middle of Oxford.
yeah.
Oh, Pete Shaw and I used to earn our money doing those days. They were
Oxford's
really,
so hard work to drive around, though, isn't it? It's not
yeah.
really made for the motor car.
Well, with those things, and they've never driven in the UK before, never driven right-hand drive, and you think,
That's hard work. I think
you
if
know,
a driving instructor wants to know what fleet's like, that's what they should do first.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of these learner instructors, if they came to see what we did, they wouldn't bother.
Yeah, because although it sounds like quite a cushy job, oh yeah, you're in a really nice car today. Yeah, but what was I in yesterday? And like you say, if it's a job like that, you definitely earn your money them days.
It's a bit like doing skid car.
Mm.
And you get the odd day, and you get these people, they're coming from the local IM group, or, well, I'm an ADI, you know. Oh, you know, well, catch this, you bugger.
Well, you see, the thing is, isn't it funny that you showed me the whole pull push thing, which, by the way, has its merits, but there's a time and a place for it. But isn't it interesting that for most they put them in a skid car? A, you're not going to steer quickly enough, and no, I can do it because I've practiced it. But for most people, they wouldn't be able to do pull push and not skid because they're not smooth enough.
Yeah. And that's the thing. But, you know, you get I'm an ADI, you know. You think,
Yeah,
yeah,
crack
all
on,
right,
mate.
mate. Yeah. You just get to some point in the end, you say, do you know what? I don't care how you throw that steering wheel, just bloody throw it.
Yeah, but
We've
sometimes
got to get
it's
the
about the
field.
speed of the correction, isn't it? Not just uh how much quantity to put in, but also how quickly you need to put that lock back on again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's the ones that let go and get back to the centre that get me, you know, and you think, well, okay, that's halfway. What
mm,
about the other half?
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I was with Simon Elstow at Fen End when
mm,
Driving Survival there, and he was IAM, and I was looking after the site. Marky was away, and I was just kicking around doing that a lot because they were out in the skid cars, and he had 3 policemen from South Wales, and he was having a bit of a tough time with them. So I said, "Can I have a go?" So he said, "Yeah, sure." Uh, and of course, I went into Billy mode because I'm now in the skid car, and they didn't alter the grip level.
no,
I'm chucking this thing, and nothing was happening. Can I skid now? Can I skid now? Can I skid now? But it did go, and it was Pingu or Flipper banging on the steering wheel, you know, and Simon was sat behind me in the back. And I could see the look on his face. He was sitting there just smirking, you know. And these guys didn't have a bloody clue what to do
but
with it.
they don't do skid, do they now? And any of the emergency services, I know we do some for West Midlands Ambulance Service,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's pretty scary. I think that that they don't do skid.
No. Well, these were traffic policemen. And in the end, I said, "Well, tell you what, let's swap seats, mate. I'll be the instructor and you drive." And it was the middle of July. It was about 30 degrees, and they were sweating like pigs. I was thinking, like a top. Well, catch this one then, you know. And Sam was just sitting in the back wetting himself. He knew exactly what I was doing. Yeah, because I said to him, I can get these guys doing understeer, oversteer, in 20 minutes.
Mm.
No, you can't do it. Yeah, I can. I'll prove it to you. I'll show you. 20 minutes. That's all it takes. I said, I've done all these years doing bloody corporate days of skid
It's
cars.
bang, 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 isn't it? It's hard work.
When you've been in a skid car for 8 hours on a Saturday, doing experience days, red letter days, you learn how to bash through them.
Oh, absolutely.
20 minutes, mate. I can get them doing this, this, and this. Bang. No, you can't. Yes, I can. And I still do it today.
Yeah.
Put it all on the ground, let them run it around, take the back off the ground. Now, how slowly do we have to go to keep control of this? It's going on. Why did that happen then? Oh, I don't know. Because you're going too fast.
Shouldn't that be part of a speed awareness course, do you think? Because one of the things that I think, there's two things that I think could be helpful on the speed awareness course. The first one's to do skid chaining, where you talk about, well, what happens if we drop our speed or increase our speed 2 miles an hour? But then the other one, and again, also probably doing stopping in ice with ABS, because most people can't do it because you have to threshold brake. But then the other thing is doing different speed limits from 10 all the way up to say 100 miles an hour and do emergency stops. But to put a cone out every single time you stop and then go, and they'll go back and go, whoa.
One of the things that we do with Rolls Royce at Millbrook, I was doing it last time I was there, was on the mile straight, accelerating to 100 miles an hour and doing an emergency stop. And you know, the belts retract and do all kinds of things. And you're thinking, bloody hell! But it's so impressive how that car actually stops, and that's what we're trying. We're trying to sell cars.
Do you do much on the bowl? Because I find that utterly boring.
Where we check the phantoms on the bowl. Just to show them how quiet they are at 100 miles an hour. We're limited to 100 on the bowl.
Yeah, but it feels like you still, doesn't it, at that speed on the bowl? And
well, the fastest I have been around the bowl physically is just on 175, and that's bloody scary because there's a bump at about the half mile mark, and you hit it, and you're still bouncing at the 3/4 mile mark. I was chief marshal there for 3 years in the 90s. So I know every inch of that place.
Alpine. So what's your reckon on Alpine? Because I think it's phenomenal.
They spoiled it now. They really have spoiled it. It's actually more. It's narrower than I ever remember it being. And now they've got GPS trackers in the cars, which if it overspeeds, it fires at you and it registers. Oh, God, you know. And you're coming off the hairpin at the end, and it's 20 mile an hour hairpin. And you know, speeding on the hairpin, go away. And they're not speeding on the hairpin, you know.
On the one at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, at the far end. Yeah, 20 mile an hour speed limit on there, around that. Because we used to run it on corporate days, and we used to have 993s, Audi coupes, 2.8s, whether they were on the corporate days, and we could put from the building at the bottom, we could put on a good run, we could get 4 laps in round there and back to the building on time in half an hour. Great.
Good fun.
That's when I had an RS2, Audi RS2 estate that was because we were supported by Audi at that point, and that was my patrol car on there. That was my lead car. Bloody amazing.
I was going to say, amazing bit of kit, and they're appreciating in value now, aren't they?
Yeah. So I've had some good times around there. I've done thousands of laps around the place, absolutely thousands. But I wouldn't say I could do it blindfolded, but not far away.
Because they've got a great off-road course, I think, as well, haven't they? And there's also got all sorts of facilities, and they got the ring as well, the low friction.
Yes, yeah. You can't really get onto that very easily. No. They don't let people on there too often. The cross-country course, again, on my permit, I've got a permit, I can go on the cross-country. That's okay, but when the military get on there, it's not half rough.
Well, they churn it up.
Yeah. Because I've done 3 Mercedes Van Live on there, and all off-road. And yeah, it does not get rougher when they've been round.
Very capable kit though. That the off-road vans,
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we were selling sprinters to fire brigades and police forces and the Coast Guard and all sorts of things because they were using Defenders, which you can't get now.
No.
So we said, well, look at these, you know.
Mm.
And the nice thing with them was that you put the four-wheel drive system in just by pushing a button on the dash. There's no levers or anything else to play with. You just push this button, the light goes on, and off you go.
Do they have
You
low
know?
range on the sprinters?
No,
Don't they?
no. Got low range. First gear is low range, or is low. Like the Amarok, there's no low range on those, but they're just first gear is very low.
Mm.
So, yeah, I've done a bit with that around there as well, and Silverstone with those. The off-road course.
Mm.
But of course, we've got that many off-road instructors at Donington. They don't use me.
Do you enjoy off-road? Because I think it's quite technical, and people don't realise the capability of vehicles, do they, and what they can do?
That's right. That's right. We did the Ranger on there. When the first Ranger came out 5 years ago.
Mm.
We trashed the Donington off-road course. We had 10 Rangers going around there for 10 days, and but it was amazing because you go down the bottom and you're coming back up towards the fence, and it was just 3 inches of slime, and you just put it in second gear, low range, take your feet off the pedals and let it go, and it's on road tyres. You know, and that's how you sell cars. This was for the dealers, so but they were going away saying, "Wow."
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
So yeah, not too far from you, is it? You know.
We spend probably too long at old airfields, don't we?
I haven't done over the years.
Yeah.
Well,
very cold places, especially in the winter.
Have you ever been to Enstone? Did you ever get to Enstone? Yeah. Yeah. Well, we were Andy when Andy was MD there. You know, we were all on Winfield at Enstone.
Big coat.
It was, yeah. We had the rally school on there, and we had the training side as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything was based on there. You know, but, yeah, interesting stuff. So yes, I've had a very, very varied life with cars.
The only other thing I was going to ask you was because you probably were quite early into the whole energy saving trust, and I'm sure that it went back further than that. And you and I know that we sort of do that daily and see quite significant fuel savings just because people probably don't know what they're doing. You've been involved in that quite early on, haven't you?
Yeah, 2008. Mike Fletcher and I were sent over by Ford to Cologne with Bob Saylor, you know Bob?
Yeah.
And the three of us went, and we were there for a couple of days just learning how the Germans did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we came back and we had to adapt it to our ways of driving because they were saying, get up to speed, knock it to neutral and roll.
Really?
No. You know, why? Well, that's not acceptable in England. You know, well, it's the best way. Well, okay. So we sort of came back, did it our way anyway. But Ford at that point, they had a thing called the DVR in Germany, which is the Road Safety Council, were running this thing for them, and it was called EcoWill, and Ford's, because they're just about to launch the Econetic range. Yeah. They wanted to make sure that what people were saying across Europe was similar, and that's why we did it. So Mike and I went over there. We came back and we ran for the IAM. We ran a series of Train the Trainer. So we were going around the country doing Train the Trainer. With Ford, we did it was a week. John Hughes won it.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they call it now, but anyway, John Hughes won it. 10 grand.
Wasn't there some controversy over that, which I will ask him about?
There was.
Are you leaving it there, Ian? Or?
I just kept my head down. Well, there was nowhere in the smaller print that said, you know, usually it says agents of or employees of can't do it. Well, there was nothing like that.
Well, it's unlike John to bend the rules anyway.
Yeah, well, you know. But the other thing was, he also knew to come at 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, because we were at Knowsley Safari Park.
Know it very well.
And the route went out through Prescott, out the far side towards Rain Hill and back in again. Because I was born in, so I know that part of the world pretty well. And we also know that the later in the day that you do it, the better fuel figures you get.
Absolutely.
So he rocked up at about 4 o'clock, and off he went. Look, he didn't come with me. But yeah, off he went, and yeah, he won it, fair and square as far as I was concerned. But he was doing. There was an industry thing at that point. I can't remember what it was called, about fuel saving. It doesn't matter. But yeah, and he was delivering that.
Because there's one called Safed, isn't there? Which is like, I think it's
that was the one. Yeah, he was doing Safed, which was fine. But it all came back to Mike Fletcher and I going to Germany to roll it out to these guys. And from that day to this, I have never ever done an eco for the IAM.
Ever since.
Yeah, we rolled it out, and I never did another day do an eco for them. Because with Bob, Mike and I, we went to the Welsh Assembly, we went to the Houses of Parliament, just to show people what it was about.
Well, obviously we do that with fleets every day, and my best one, I think, in car at least, was 41% improvement. Well, if we got that across, even we got half of that across a lot of our fleets, that's massive fuel save.
Well, I did a fuel economy run, and it was organised by one of the leasing companies in Bristol, and it was 420 miles over 2 days, and we were in a 1.6 Focus estate, and over 2 days and 420 miles, we averaged 76 per gallon. But I didn't like it, because it was being run under an RAC permit. So to me, it should have been timed like a rally, where you have an arrival time, or you have a departure time, you have an arrival time. And if it's 20 miles, you set it at 30 mile an average speed. So 20 miles, you've got 40 minutes to do that section. But no. You could take as long as you wanted. And some of it, there were trucks overtaking the cars that were taking, and you think, this is not real.
Yeah.
And my mate from Toyota's rocked up, and he said, I'm really going to take the piss with this. He turned up with a 5 litre LFA.
That's meant to be an amazing product as well. It's meant to be amazing.
It really is. He said, I'm going to see how little I can get it.
Isn't that your style though, Ian? That sounds a lot more fun.
I didn't do it, but he did, But yeah, we did all right with that. But it was 76, and the boys from Energy Saving Trust Peters, but they had a hatchback which didn't weigh as much as ours.
Yeah.
So that was our excuse, We were driving realistically.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, most of the time when we do it, like now, we tend to see average speeds go higher, don't we, on the second run, which is like you're getting more efficiency and you're quicker.
It was just, it's, as I've said to people many times, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. You're not doing anything different, just the way you deal with it. Absolutely. Get off the gas a bit soon. Look at the road a bit more. Get off the gas soon. Let it roll. So,
well, just probably last question, but where do you think the whole hybrid and EVs going? Do you think it's going to completely move that way or not?
I think it's got to. The main thing for me at the moment, we're actually physically looking at changing one of our cars at the moment, but I haven't got enough money to buy a hybrid.
No,
that's my problem. And I've just come up with a Hyundai Kona today, which is 18 months old, and that's still 23 grand.
It's a lot of money. But then the mileage, the range on that, I've driven that car. It's amazing. Like in terms of mileage, it's not the be all and end all in terms of handling characteristics or whatever.
No, I'm not worried about it. It's basically going to be Glenda's car. It's not, but we're going to keep hold of mine because mine's the van. My estate car becomes the van. So it's just a car. It's going to be the last car that we buy. So it's going to run for a long time. It's going to look, so we're just looking. We're being a bit careful.
Well, the thing is though, with electrics is What can go wrong? I mean, apart from changing tyres and maybe discs and pads, but even you don't change them that often, there's not really any maintenance, is there?
No, I'd say for me, EVs, the jury's out for EV for me.
Hmm.
I like the security, like if you like, of having a tank full of fuel that I know is going to get me where I want to go.
Yeah, I suppose if you know you can get to the lakes on one tank of diesel, or even better there and back.
From here, from here to where I go on the lakes, it's 217 miles,
Yeah,
and I do it on less than half a tank of fuel.
yeah.
But with an EV, I've got to stop at Knutsford or somewhere
Hmm.
and hope that there's nobody else on the pump, or it's working, and then have a 3/4 hour break, which I don't really want to do.
I think you could do that whole trip in a Kona.
Yeah, but the EV, you see, a new EV is 40 grand in the Kona,
Hmm.
which is ridiculous amount of money.
Well, I think I was watching a YouTube channel the other day, and they said you'll probably quite like it, but he said basically if you spent 3 or 4 grand on a 1.6 diesel Focus, it wouldn't cost you much to maintain. It wouldn't use a great deal of fuel, and what's it going to cost you? And then how many you could get 10? You could get 10 of them in comparison to the Kona. And I'm not saying
Well,
I mean, I'd love an electric car, but it's a lot.
I went to the lakes week before last. We came home on Sunday. I've run around this week. I've done just on 900 miles in that time, and my car's averaged 52 to the gallon.
Well, have you done much stuff on the Autobahn?
Not a huge amount. I've done it. I've done Italy,
Hmm.
the auto routes. I've done France. Yeah, same as the other. I mean, the Autobahn, most of it's limited to 130k anyway now.
Yeah.
So it's very. There's not that much of Germany now that you can go flat out.
Hmm. And then you get a wagon. So
Well,
it takes a long time to stop, doesn't it, from them really high speed?
I think when they've had a shunt, they get a shunt over there.
I'm sure. Yeah. I believe their fatalities are higher because of the speeds.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I would like to see in this country is the system they operate in Germany, where you have lines on the road by the bridge. And if you're inside that line and the guy in front isn't over his line, too close, and you get nicked.
Yeah.
That's something I would like to see here.
So space, like distances.
Yeah, not minimising tailgaters really.
I wonder whether
we do it. You keep yourself a nice space, and then you got somebody trying to push you because you're not quite close enough. They think you should be closer in again.
irrelevant of your speed.
Yeah. I mean, I've got privacy glass on my car, so I will very often drive it like a van, and I will move around to block the view. They can't see, and I do that constantly. And I actually do that on training sessions with people.
Yeah.
You get somebody close behind, move across, break his view, because you're looking down the side of your car. If he can't see, he'll back off.
You've got no choice.
Now, I don't know if that's wrong game, but to me, that is a fundamental.
Well, you need to see where you're going, don't you? So,
what do we say to people? You have got to make sure that they do what you want them to do. And if they can't see, they sit there and say, "Oh God, there's a car there. I'm too close." You're subconsciously making them feel uncomfortable.
Why do people drive so close?
Depends what they're driving. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what makes it tick really. I can do both. I've done a bit of security driving, and yes, you don't want to let anybody in between you.
No.
I've done a bit of that over the years, because Drive and Survive, we used to train chauffeurs. I got them on the airfield, J turns and jags and things. That was quite interesting.
But none of them went through the hedge.
No, we were right up there. No, that was Andy Ketchum that did that. And then I saw him as a driving expert it was at Millbrook on something on TV program. And this is our lad when he put the car through the hedge. If he had admitted it, but then said, "Oh no, it wasn't me. It was stolen." Yeah, of course it was. It was 2 miles from the package.
Oh, cool. Well, good to catch up, mate.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, thanks for that.
It is.
Anyway,
Well, we'll leave it at that because it's nearly my bedtime. So it's been a pleasure, Ian. Thank you very much.
yeah, thanks, buddy. And hopefully we'll catch up before long.
Absolutely. I'm sure I'll see you soon, mate.
Yeah, all right, mate. Good to speak with you. See you soon.